a color pop like antenna, never knowing when to stop. Sunglasses indoors, power for the cause, lights in the floors and sweat on the walls, cages and poles.
I think at Highclere every day is a lovely day because it is so beautiful going round the castle. You know, in winter sometimes the fog is very close and you can hardly see the building, and then in the summer when you've got all the sunshine coming through the trees outside and the dappled light, or at the moment there are bluebells out in all the woods, and the smell and the colour is just amazing. So every day is a really special day, and we're all working together here. So on a Monday when everyone arrives, it's a lovely way, everybody's filling the castle again in the offices, and we're setting off on the next day, first day of the next week. It's all about, I don't know, people and fun and engagement, and there's a life to the castle. The castle is like a person as well, you know, it has its own life and feeling and warmth. Anyway, so this is a truly beautiful room, but it was built on top of a medieval hall, and I think that inspired Charles Barry, who was commissioned to design the Houses of Parliament in London, and he was building this house at the same time. This was quicker and easier, no politicians involved, no committees, one patron in the painting behind, the 3rd Earl of Carnarvon, who just wanted him to create a spectacular, Italianate, extraordinary home. So I think that's what he did. And what's lovely about this saloon is the light at the top. So all the windows and the glass leading mean that you always have a sense of light, which is uplifting, I think. I'm standing in the drawing room, which is such a beautiful room. It's quite a feminine room as opposed to some of the rest of the house, which is quite masculine. Very familiar to fans of Downton Abbey, because Maggie Smith would sit here and Elizabeth McGovern here, and they'd be discussing what their daughters and granddaughters were up to. And it was used for New Year and for many parties, as we do in real life. We particularly use it in the summer because the fire isn't brilliant, and in the summer it's lovely and warm and you can just fall out onto the lawns and have a drink out there. It's actually, apart from Downton Abbey, historically an important room. The green wall hangings are silk, and they were given to Alfred de Rothschild, gave them to his daughter Amina when she married the 5th Earl of Carnarvon in 1895. So they were a wedding present, and the curtains as well. And we think they're based on Marie Antoinette's boudoir in Versailles, so it's a lovely link to France, as indeed is this extraordinarily lovely marble fireplace, which I read in the 4th Earl's diaries. They believed to have come from Versailles, or perhaps another palace in France. It is simply lovely, and it's again set following the French theme with a beautiful clock with several china either side, and even the back of the fireplace and the fire dogs are beautifully carved. The chandelier in the middle has got 365 pieces of glass, a lovely piano from 1884 by Steinway, beautiful instrument and a beautiful museum piece. And then, of course, in the window over there, there's a lovely Chinese teapot. Catherine de Braganza, the wife of Charles II, introduced the tradition of tea drinking from her native Portugal into this country in the late 17th century. That is a very early teapot, which is just lovely. And of course, by the 19th century, everybody in England drank tea. I'm afraid we add milk to it, not the best tea, but far too often. And today it's come full circle because we all sit down and have afternoon tea with the sandwiches and the cakes, and we sell many afternoon teas to visitors. It's amazing, very popular. And let me show you the teapot over here. I know. And then this was where my predecessors would indeed have kept the different sorts of tea, and some place for the hot water as well. Well, for where the stands might have been kept, I suspect there was areas here which you could fill with jugs or things like that, I would imagine. But there would have been a table for the teapots to put it in next door. But it's been slightly damaged, so it must have had a practical use, if you like. It is, it's lovely, isn't it? And there's a lovely scene of animals on the other side as well, which is just charming. It really is. We're now in the music room, which is, it feels to me quite a French room with the gills and the decorations. The embroideries here are from the 16th century from Italy, and these, the window shutters here, we've recently restored. They're painted in watercolours, and that has been one of my restoration projects. And I hope they look rather beautiful now. And in this particular corner is one of the most important historical items in the castle, which is Napoleon's desk. This particular room is older than the current castle, so the embroideries are from the 16th century, from the Malatesta family in Italy. The Malatesta were vanquished by the Medici, if you like, so some of the beautiful works of art in their palaces were sold off. Anyway, these embroideries, for some reason again, have been bought and made it back to Highclere. They're very delicate, and they're embroideries, not tapestries, of rather wonderful creatures. So they are the decoration for the walls. The ceiling is by a man called Francis Hayman, so it probably dates to about 1730 to 1740. He decorated houses in London, many of which have burnt down. So this is quite special. This is such a lovely room, one of my favourite rooms, and my husband's, I think. It's very well known in Downton Abbey because that was Lord Grantham's desk, and Maggie Smith and all the ladies have lots of scenes here, and they'd put tea out on the table and go outside to have other conversations. And there was quite a few. This was very much the heart of some of the storyline, with Carson coming through the door as well, so very familiar. But in real life, it was obviously created by Charles Barry and Thomas Allen, the architects. Actually, the tower of the castle was built in here before it was taken up there, and then all the shelves were put in. There's 6,500 books. I've read them all. That's a lie. No, it's a lie. It's a lie. I haven't. I have read some of them. and because I think books should be looked at and opened. Stonehenge and its barrows, I love that. I haven't yet looked at this one. And there are some wonderful maps. Look at that. So what's interesting is if I'm trying to write and share what I'm doing, some of our predecessors did an amazing job. So I can look here. So I'll put this one back. This is again archaeology, and this is going back through local times. Now what have we got here? This is an enormous book about, this is rather a wonderful book. But look at the outside of it. It is so beautiful. This is in Italian, and it's obviously about, I think it's about Etruscan architecture. There we go. In the centre of this part of the library is this magnificent fireplace, and the man in the painting is the first Earl of Carnarvon, and it's a painting by Gainsborough, we think. And but what's also very beautiful about it is the frame that it's in. And it's a beautifully carved frame. His wife grew up in a house called Petworth, which was renowned for the carvings and the wood carvings by a man called Grindon Gibbons. So I think he was looking for students of Grindon Gibbons to create the beautiful fireplaces, and this is very English, all the different grapes and the leaves from the glory of the English garden, if you like. This was, don't forget, the time of the Napoleonic Wars. So England had no access to trade in Europe, so they were promoting and showcasing all things English. It therefore dates from about, I'd have thought, 1780, 1785. He wasn't yet the first Earl of Carnarvon. He was awarded the title in 1790, and that's reflected in a similar painting in the dining room. So this was here before the library, but I think some of the carvings on here inspired the carvings on the library, because again you're picking up the fruit which is rolling down the mahogany shelves. The gilding is lovely. It's nice because it's weathered and old. And either side you've got these two beautiful French lamps. They're definitely from France, and they're definitely lovely. They have since been rewired, I think by Almina, because the wire goes up the outside of the lamps. And I haven't yet finished my research into where they came from, but I will do one day. And the fireplace really works. It's very lovely and warm in the winter, and we tend to light it from October onwards if we're coming in here in the evenings. Sadly, it's May, and it's nearly May rather, and I think I still need to light the fire, which is terrible. But it's a magnificent fire, it's a magnificent painting. So this is part of what was here before the castle, when it was a Georgian house. So not everything was taken away, it was added to. And then, what's quite fun is, of course, in here, Downton Abbey left the old letter behind. The Earl of Grantham, Downton Abbey, Yorkshire. We're actually in we're Hampshire actually, but we're near the town of Berkshire, so that's quite fun. And they were very real and authentic, because they actually, wrote out the letter inside, which he was pretending clearly to struggle with. So, how amazing.
Tell us something about this Carlton desk.
This is a lovely Carlton House desk where the Earls of Carnarvon would have sat to do their writings and letters, with a lot of beautiful drawers which are jolly useful, although I think some of them are locked. And when you've written it, you then post your letter through there. So it's all confidential. And it's not left around, then the butler would have collected it to take away. So it is pretty cool, isn't it? Let's see what else I've got. I do keep a few useful things here and there. I think this is a Downton Abbey cheque for £50 too. Photograph one of our horses. Oh look, I think, the thing is I'm not sure whether this is Downton Abbey or Highclere Castle sometimes. This is Downton Abbey because it says, "Dear Robert, how beautiful Downton must be looking now." How funny, I had no idea this was here. Which I think is what's of interest to most people in the world. It's where you live, where your roots are, where your friends are, where your family is, what makes a home and gives you a sense of value as a person. So I'm always thinking of those two things. And the idea of tradition is part of that, because I can go back in history 1300 years. This has been a home. This is where people sat in the 8th century and ate. So it's looking at the traditions and bringing them forward, sharing them, telling stories. I'm just a storyteller.